Hey friends, as soon as we knew the exotic class item was a thing, I was looking for the combo a Bear Armamentarium contingent on if the Unbreakable aspect was any good. And to my, is delight the correct word here? Because I was hesitant that they were going to overdo it just like Sentinel Shield Ursa Furiosa way back in the day. So the problem with this is if they stand on a zone or whatever, they're going to cap it. So you have to shoot at the super. But if you shoot at the super, they block with their shield. And then they get another super for a future round. So it pretty much created an impossible scenario, let alone if they were smart and used it as an offensive super. So now talking about this aspect, by doing the guarding, you get super energy that works you towards 3 and 4 supers in a control match, which is kind of ridiculous. Or the first super to appear in Trials of Osiris. You're not quite getting 2 of them unless you're playing Twilight Arsenal and you're very, very active. You have to min-max the cooldown between your discipline and your intellect, but this isn't all perfect though. There are, let's say, key windows where you can punish your opponent where they're either too slow to start the Unbreakable, or you just haven't shot at them while they're guarding, and you just wait for them to drop the guard, and then shotgun them during the animation lag. That is how I die with this more often than not. The Frontal Blast does knock them back, kind of like handheld Supernova. I believe I was talking about that in the last video. And this is more practical because in this meta, you get thrown swarm grenades, smokes, clones, whatever you have to tank through. And Unbreakable says, I might take a little bit of damage, but the reward is super energy. And I would say this early on that maybe super energy is a little too much of a reward. Perhaps it could be a little bit of grenade energy back to incentivize using it as a shield and not a super siphon, because who really likes to fight against supers? That being said, today I was using Hammer of Soul, and I'm not very good with the super, although I do think it's one of the stronger supers in the game. When you're missing a shoulder charge and the mobility tools, it falls off a little bit. Especially since you don't have the Sunbreaker subclass to give you the extended super and the Sunspots. The Sunspots get so many kills in that super. So it's fitting that Prism doesn't get literally everything. So at least it has a weakness there. Or maybe just less strengths. But you get what I'm saying. Armamentarium makes sense with Bear because you backpack a grenade charge. You don't always exactly use your grenade the second it's up. However, if you die while you have your second charge and respawn, you will lose that entire charge. So to combat this, I decided to farm out again, go to the Lost Sector, do my circle. I manually farm this because I don't want to risk my account with a macro. And I went for Bear and Scars. And I wanted to try the combo of Red Death Scars. And it did work in Trials. And I happened to match a like 4 or 5 man team. And I had one of them on my team too. I lucked out in the fact that I got players using the healing auto rifle frame. And thank God that doesn't flinch me to the moon when I'm hit by it. Would have left that game with the swiftness. But it heals me and it gives me a damage bonus, which when you combine that with Red Death giving you a chunk of health from Cure, along with the restoration from Spirit of the Scars, along with the multi-kills that I'm getting that drop the Catalyst or whatever, my team is like an unkillable death ball as long as I'm doing my job as a DPS. And while the footage is cool to watch, I don't think I would be enjoying myself if the enemy team was doing the exact same thing against me. So all this being said, these might be some outliers in the sandbox as soon as Prism Hunter gets dealt with, but we'll have to wait and see. That's just a first impression. As for the mods, going Dynamo. And another interesting thing here is Innervation and Absolution give me my grenade energy back. My grenade energy gives me super energy. So in a weird sort of way, this is like picking up super energy off the floor if you can remember to circle back to pick up orbs. You can seriously rip 3 or 4 supers per match if you manage that perfectly between your teammates dropping orbs and you recycling and whatnot. It is extremely potent. If you're curious about the grenade launcher, this has remote detonation. Concussion nades also go crazy if you have it. I'm using a Strand shotgun to get the darkness energy on Transcendence up. It's okay, and the 1-2 punch came up like maybe 4 times, and I only succeeded with it once. This is my PvE shotgun. I'm just repurposing it. If I could somehow activate scars with the kinetic weapon, that would be the ideal. Like, if I could choose no super at all, that might be kind of fun for scars. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. You don't have that flexibility anymore. Or yet. You used to be able to do this glitch where you could have no super. So I'm curious if scars worked with that, if anybody tried it. So choosing between the barricades, if I was using like Alpha Loopy with Abeyance, there we go, or Kepri's Horn, I think the barricades are usable in this meta. They're very strong. The thing that made Barricade worse is that the hunters have the smoke and the swarm so often that standing behind the barricade becomes a little bit of a liability when you can't match those cooldowns, which is Rich saying last season when Void Titans were running everything. I like Thruster better because it's a faster orb, a nice repositioning tool. I honestly like it better than Hunter Dodge because it's first person and that just makes more sense balance-wise to me, and I wish that they would have built the game around that. So why Shield Throw? The answer is I don't have the dexterity when I play controller to use Shiver Strike or Frenzied Blade with any sort of intelligence and speed. So instead, I'm just using Shield Throw to make up for the fact that I'm probably not going to throw my grenade to put pressure around corner. So instead, I just use the Shield Throw to soften up targets, clean them up, or to give me just enough health to duel a team or make my Unbreakable go through. Also with Unbreakable, you can third person peek. You can just charge it like 1% and then sprint or double swap your weapon or whatever to cancel out of it. You'll get a little bit of energy and you'll get your third person peek. However, I wasn't abusing that in this gameplay. Just remember, Prism Hunter's at the top. As soon as people really want to win, no honor strategies like that come out. Fragments. Blessing makes a lot of sense with how much you're punching. And funny enough, Facet of Awakening happens all the time in PvP. I thought this would be fringe, but in sixes, that elemental pickup all the time. Which, read at the very top, Fire Sprite. A luminous concentration of solar energy when picked up. Fire Sprites grant grenade energy. Grenade energy is like super energy. Now let's talk about Red Death. This is one of the best primaries in the game. Gun to my head, top 10 list. This is top 5. It's that potent in sixes, and for classes that don't have access to Devour, this is the next best thing. You don't have to get a god roll like you would with LCs or Messenger. This gets the job done. And the Catalyst is even more insane. I said it in the first impression of this rifle, but man, it's like they sat in a boardroom meeting. They had a list of all the perks to, reform the Red Death, and they just picked every single thing on the list and left nothing out. All right, enjoy the gameplay, friends. I've talked too much. You're really going to enjoy this one. I go on some tears. Thank you to the healing squad. That was very much appreciated. You played that role with intelligence and grace.
Show me you can take ground. Hold the zone. Enemy claims Zone C. Zone A captured. Zone B captured. Zone advantage is yours. control. Targets eliminated. Nice work.
Bring your light to bear, Guardian. Outshine the opposition. Impressive victory. You never Your team leads. I expected nothing less. One ally is left. He's dead. Only one enemy is left. Surround is yours. Good fight. Turn this lead into a victory. Nothing can stop you. Opponent revived.
control. Take those zones, Guardians. Victory demands it. Enemy claimed Zone A. Zone C captured. battle is yours. Zone C lost. Your enemy has a power play. You captured Zone A. You have the power. Well fought victory. Your victory gives the city hope.